righty, welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. I am Aaron Chow, accompanied by my co-host Sean Harris. As always, we are back to make our Week 5 picks / bets against the spread, as per usual. First bye weeks this week, so less games. It'll be interesting because we technically have extra money. Once again, this is not real money we're betting with because unfortunately we're not about that life. We don't have money to just basically burn on the NFL because heading into this week, that's what I've been doing. I've been basically burning this fake money because last week I was in the negatives again, and once again John in the positives. As John, you were plus 180 in terms of our bets, and I was minus 200. So yeah, Dallas came through for you big. Obviously, you bet big on Minnesota, and that came through as well. So unfortunate for me, and for both of us, mainly for me, because I put a little bit more money on the Chiefs. That I wasn't upset about the Mahomes, about the home slide. I know there were many people that had actual money that were upset, but unfortunately, that did. It cost both of us, but cost me 50 more. Not that it would have helped, as I just mentioned, John did way better. And not only that, are you doing way better in money, but doing better pick wise. As last week, in terms of just against the spread record, 9-7 for you. I was the opposite at 7-9. So you already had a 2-game lead going into last week. Now you have a 4-game lead. So hopefully I can get it together here as the season goes on. But I don't know. We'll see. It's I feel like it always happens with us too. Like one person starts falling behind, and then it's just a matter of can they make the late season push. So we'll see if I can not get so far behind going starting with week 5. So let's dive into it. Let's start with the Thursday nighter, and you and I know a good amount. I feel like of educated NFL fans. Not a big fan of Thursday night, especially Thursday night games. The quality of product, and unfortunately, like at what point does Amazon start to go to the NFL and be like, hey, can we get better matchups? Because this one's not the most exciting one. And it is the Washington Commanders at home. They are favored by 5.5, hosting the Chicago Bears. Bears are coming off that tough loss against the Broncos. But hey, Washington also coming off a tough overtime loss as well. Who do you have here, John, and for how much?
Just random aside on the lack of quality for Thursday night. I feel like the NFL needs to be able to flex games. Maybe not Thursday, but I mean we talked about this previously. Like some of the Sunday night games. I mean, like luckily Kansas City and New York actually kind of was a good game, but on paper going into last week, like that was pretty pitiful. The week prior it was Raiders Steelers, right? Like
yeah,
and it just feels like there's. Luckily this week we got a good game. Obviously, it also involves my team, but I don't know. It feels like I remember when they did that during COVID, where they flexed games into primetime, and I feel like they should be more open to doing that. As long as like every team, I do think every team deserves a primetime game, just because you want to get all the teams involved in terms of viewership and eyes and having like a primetime spot, but. I don't know. I think they should be able to flex it a little bit, especially considering there's certain teams, right, like the Jets, who coming into the year you expected Aaron Rodgers. When he gets hurt, they're not as much of a draw. Anyway, my point being, I agree. Thursday, historically too, this is not just a this year thing, but it feels like Thursday is like the one primetime game that it's like, Thursday nights. The matchups are usually not the greatest. And here we are again with Washington and Chicago. I'm going to go Chicago. I'm going to put 100 on it. It's not because I think Chicago's going to win, but I don't know. Washington, I think that maybe the number's a little bit inflated due to the fact that they just went toe-to-toe with Philly. And I like the fact that they did that, but their defense also gave up a ton of points. They allowed Jalen Hurts in that offense to do a lot of big things. Chicago last week was somewhat able to find their groove, albeit against a bad defense. But I think that Washington's defense, once again, is not the greatest. And so I think Chicago can cover here. I'm only going to put a standard 100 on it. But yeah, I think the Bears get a little bit of momentum. Even though they choked last week, offensively they got momentum and they were able to move the ball. And I think they kind of keep that up this week.
Yeah, Thursdays are weird. kind of my theme this week. I'm just going with what I know and who I trust more, and obviously I should do. But anyway, I trust Washington more, and I trust their defensive line. I think that won't allow the Bears' run game to really get going, and I just especially after getting kind of thrown on a bunch last week and seeing Jalen Hurts and the Eagles is just. I feel like Chicago's a step down, pretty much, in every way. Right now I definitely say Hurts has been the better quarterback than Fields. We know that the Philly offensive line's better than the Chicago offensive line, and same for the skill position guys. So I feel like that's advantage Washington because they did make things tough for Philly in the first half last week. It's just I don't know. They just decided to leave whoever on AJ Brown on island in the second half. Whatever, but in regards to this one, and on the flip side, Washington's offense has been I know except for the Buffalo game, that was the only game where they really were bad, but you could also credit that to maybe that Buffalo that defense is showing that they can be for real. But in regards to this, Washington's offense has shown that they can move the ball very well. They have a really good receiving core. Sam Howell. He's definitely exceeded at least my expectations. Not saying he's absolutely blowing out of the water like some other guys that we've been harping on or praising, but nonetheless, I like what they've been doing. Have a good run game. We know they have those two solid backs, really good receivers. So I just trust Washington and their talent more. Plus Chicago dealing with a few injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and they're already kind of worse suspect on the defensive side of the ball to begin with. But yeah, just once again, it's actually official, but Jalen Johnson, their corner, and Eddie Jackson, their safety, already been ruled out for Thursday night, and it's very possible they could be missing their other safety, Jaquan Brisker, because he's questionable with a hamstring injury. So, and then obviously Chase Claypool. All those things and then to losing a tough close game with that you should have probably won last week, and then this whole extra thing with Claypool and stuff. I just feel like there's a lot of things going on in Chicago, in and out of football, and I just feel like they might not put their best foot forward this week or be able to. So I'm going with Washington for 100. So starting off with the difference, and so unfortunately it looks like we'll have to kind of be paying attention to the Thursday night game, or at least me, because I'm behind. So I'll be making sure that hopefully Washington pulls through for me. But we'll see. It's at least an interesting matchup, and it's Thursday night. So I don't even know the next Thursday night. I just hope it gets better, but probably not, because I feel like we say that every week, or at least every year. Nonetheless, that's the Thursday nighter.